Whew. Okay, I think we're live. Sorry guys, that was a bit of an ordeal.
Hey,
yeah, how's everyone going? I'm Paul, Zek's here, and Joe's joining us as well. We had a bit of a problem with YouTube there. I think all the other streams are working except YouTube, but I think it's all sorted now. I do apologise for that. We are running a little bit behind. Joe and Zek are here to monitor the chat and answer questions as well as myself. I'll kind of be a bit of a host, and Joe and Zek will jump in as needed. Today is all about you guys. It's getting all your questions over to us. Hopefully we can answer as many questions as possible. That's the primary goal today. Outside of that, as the questions hopefully slow down, we will get to some beginner things, intermediate, and also some power user functionality. But if time persists, obviously, we're probably going to stick to maybe a 2-hour limit, and we will basically wrap things up after that. We'll have a little bit of time afterwards if needed, but that's it in a nutshell. So get all your questions in. Joe and Zek, what's happening? What are we looking like? Is the chat working at least?
A lot of stuff coming in the chat.
All right, okay.
There is an awful lot.
Okay, I did set some slow-mo limits. I don't know whether they're working, so hopefully that will help us get through some of the questions. But yeah, maybe be patient with us. It's the first time we've been streaming across all the socials. We're usually just on Discord, so it's all a bit new to us. But we will get there. So I can see them coming in pretty fast. So maybe we'll choose a few questions. I don't think we're going to be able to get through the bulk of them, but we will try and condense as many as we can. So let me have a chat. Let me have a quick look and see where we're at. All right. Oh gosh, there's many. Can we add okay, so things like, can we add content to the game? Look, I don't think we're going to get to a lot of those questions because the answer is going to be simply yes or no. We're either doing it or we're not. We've got a jam-packed schedule of things that we've been working on. We are working on, and coming out. So any of those sort of questions, we're probably not going to get to because the answer will be most likely no, we can't get to it. I can't say for sure. We might be working on this thing you're asking for, but more questions outside of that realm would be good. I'll answer things about Trainz Simulator 3 because I know there'll be a lot of people asking when's the next version of Trainz Simulator 3 coming, or the updates for Trainz Simulator 3. I'll tell you now, we are working on updates. They are in the pipeline and they are coming soon. That's about all I can tell you with that. So anybody wanting to continue asking about Trainz Simulator 3, that will be the go-to answer. I can't give you more than that at the moment. So fire away with anything else that you'd like to know about, and we'll try and filter it outside of those things I've just mentioned. So is there anything that has popped out at you guys? Zek and Joe.
I think Mainland has a kind of an interesting question here. What is the one thing you've wanted to add to Trainz but haven't been able to?
Oh, is there one thing? Is there really just one thing? Jeez, now that's going to get me thinking a lot. Oh, look, there's a lot of things that we want to add. Obviously, you know, we're a tight-knit studio. We're an independent studio, so trying to get our wish list into the game, as well as getting all the things that you guys mentioned as well that you want in the game, you know, it takes a lot of time and resources, and so we have to have a priority list. For me personally, I'm more on the creation side of things, definitely. So I'm always gonna put my vote in for Surveyor, world building, session creation, but I definitely know that if we could get some kind of procedural generation going in our world building, that's what I'm fighting for. That's what I'm going to be going for in the future. But you know, I don't get all the say, unfortunately. So, what about yourself, Zach and Joe? Anything that you guys are burning to get into the game?
Personally, I would love to see some point lighting or some better lighting, but that's just me.
Oh, I can answer that one. I got an answer for that, Joe. There's 2 paths that we're taking with the engine. Inevitably, it is ray tracing that we will get there. I'm not putting any dates on this sort of stuff, so don't be like, oh, ray tracing is coming tomorrow. It's not, but it is coming. But we've got an intermediate step where we could do forward plus rendering, and that would introduce point lights and spotlights in your assets per asset. So we could have many lights within a scene. So if we do that intermediate step, you may see actual lights attached to your asset creations a lot sooner than when we make that next jump to ray tracing. So there you go, Joe. I just answered one for you.
Exciting.
Yeah. Zach, anything from you on that? Or you probably just have a wish list of so much stuff that we can't get through it.
It's actually one thing I can think of offhand. A working damper in steam locomotives.
Of course. Very Zach of you. All right. I've got a couple that I can read here, but we'll try and filter out as many as we can. I'm trying to start from the top so that we don't miss too many. People can hear us. 16 textures. I'm not quite sure what that means. Oh, actually, that's a reply. Never mind.
I did see one from Joe Hendricks earlier. He asked, with the 10 texture limit in HD terrain,
yep,
is it best to choose monotones and then colour them with the colour effects layer, since that's effectively unlimited?
16 texture limit, not 10.
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference there.
I was reading my copy paste.
Oh, good. So what was the question?
Basically, is it better to go with like a monotone palette of ground textures and then tint them, or something to that effect? Personally, I've found when I've been working with HD terrain, I choose a set of base textures. So I'll choose, make a little palette like you would when you're painting a painting. You'd have a set of colours to work from.
Yeah. I might try and while we're talking about these, if there's relevance that I can log into the game and I can show a few things, I might do that. So we're not just sitting there and staring at the pretty background I've got going on. So while you're talking about that, I might try and jump in and do some stuff as well. But continue.
Yeah. So the way I've been experimenting so far is I'll pick a range of, say, about 8 textures. That gives me a good baseline. Those I'll then paint. So like for open fields, I'll just paint green grass everywhere, just a single grass texture. And then as I work from there, I'll start adding more detail. So you go through, you add dirt around your roads, and then like gravel around where you need dirt roads or gravel pathways, things like that. And then once I've got a nice baseline, I've still got room to move with adding detail textures if I need them. Remembering that it's per baseboard, not for the whole route. So if you need a detail texture on one baseboard, you can use that there, and then a different one the next one. And then using the color effect layer to help tint different textures to create different effects as I need them.
Yeah, I definitely think, for me personally, I'll start with a set of textures that works really well together. Like the contrast of the textures is the main thing. You're not putting hot pinks next to a road or something. You know, they need to gel together. And as Zach says, I'm just about to add a color layer. So if you go to add a new effect layer, you add the new color layer. I'll just call it tint. You can name it whatever you want. It sets up the default properties except for this one, color binding. You might want to set this to whatever meter size you want. That'll be how precise you can paint it. Obviously, if you set it 20 meters, you've got a 20 meter radius of color that's being applied. Setting these different meters or bindings, that's just basically how much data you're going to be using per route. So if you've got a massive route, but you want precision color change, which you probably don't, that's going to take up a lot of space. So, you know, setting it around about 10 meters, 5 meters even if you need it, is probably where I'd sit with it. So once you paint down, you 8 to 10. I mean, you've got 16 texture limit, but you want to kind of leave a few textures just in case you need to add more. Once you get there, you can change your color to something. I find there's the darker colors because it uses I forget if it's multiplier or I think that's what it uses, the blend mode. So when you start to paint this down, under your paint tool, you'll go into color tint, and that's it. And then you can start to tint the colors that the color on top of your textures and get more of a variety of look to your scene, I guess. You're just adding that layer on top of it, which is the color layer. So that is a good way to get more out of the limitations of the 16 textures for HD terrain, but that's just one thing. Like, you've got clutter on top of that should be used on your textures. The routes aren't what you see here. They're not blank on a text on a terrain. You've got so much detail that you add on top of it. So yeah, while 16 textures may sound like a limiting factor, by the time you add all your detail on top, most of the time the textures are something you might see in the background. If you're up close to it, you probably shouldn't be seeing a lot of the textures at all based on the functionality you have available to you to cover the world. Anyway, I won't touch on it too much. I will state today will be a Q&A session. We'll touch on things a little bit. If we find the popularity of doing these streams is great, then we'll start to do more and more, and we might categorize them into, okay, well, this is going to be a world building one, this will be a scripting one, this will be session creation, this will be driving. So yeah, I won't be drilling too much into these in great detail. So let's try and move on. And what's the next question?
I saw one earlier from Ken that says, "Hi, I struggle with water layer in merged layout. Water is just under the surface that I can't delete." So
right.
Any pointers on using the new water?
So it is the new one. It's not the legacy that we're talking about. I imagine. It
sounds like he may have updated the legacy water to the new water.
Okay.
He's having trouble with that. That's what it sounds like to me.
All right. I'll just do a double check. Everything's coming through fine. Like, there's no technical issues at the moment. You can see fine. You can hear fine. Just monitor people's feedback, I guess. All right. So the water layer, if you convert a route, it'll add a water effects layer, or you can add one as I'm about to now. So we go down to our water. Again, name it what you want. Water? Water. There we go. And the same thing with the bindings. Depending on how big you want your brush radius, depends on how much precision you want with the water. I would not imagine you want much precision with water because the edges are going to be hidden under the terrain anyway. So you can probably make that 20. And the asset is dependent on what you want the water to look like. My preview window isn't showing up, but we'll just leave it as maybe a bit.
Paul.
Yeah.
We got somebody has given us some comments about some sound issues.
Oh, okay.
Ted says you're super loud compared to the other guys, but otherwise fine. I don't know who. Somebody was saying that Zek was kind of loud earlier, but I don't know where we're at right now.
I can adjust that. Let me turn that down for you. I think.
I don't know if it was you who's too loud or me.
How about now? I've turned it down 5 decibels, so hopefully I'm not too quiet now.
I will say.
Yeah, we'll see. I'll
Okay.
turn it up slightly.
Sounds like
good.
we sound good. Yeah.
Alright, cool. Yeah. Maybe I'm too excited, I'm yelling. Alright, so I've added my water layer, which you can see right there. And the question was, he's having trouble deleting some of it or manipulating it?
His exact question or quote was, "Hi, I struggle with a water layer in merged layout. Water just under the surface that I can't delete." Any comments?
Alright, so if it's a legacy layer, it should work the same way as what I'm going to show you, but the controls will be a little bit different. Anyway, let's go with the HD, or sorry, the S20 water layer. So you'll need to select it in, you got your paint tool, you'll need to select it in the drop down, because this is where all your layers will be found, or your tools. So we go to the water layer, and then you want to do height up, height down, any of those ones. If you've got it showing, you probably just want to do height down and then push it below the terrain, is pretty much what you'll end up doing. For deleting it, that is a good question. I think it shows up by, let me just turn this off. That's actually a good question. I'm just going to turn off the ground into Y mode, or transparent. And if we go height up, yeah, so I believe, and this is more of a technical thing that the developers would be able to answer, but I would imagine the water is everywhere in your route. And then once you go to paint somewhere, it then flags it to say, okay, I need it to be rendered in this spot now. So you're not really, once you start painting it, you're not really deleting it at that point, as opposed to probably more hiding it under the terrain.
Yes.
That would be my take on it. So if you've got things like this and you're like, oh, there's water everywhere, I don't really want it there. At that point, you just use the height down and you'd go and get rid of it. And then, that's, yep.
One thing that I've sort of thought of when I've done this is setting the default value in
the layer,
the effect layer,
yep,
to like 3,000 meters below the terrain, and then you adjust it to fill the area you want.
Okay.
That way, it's always well below where you're working.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. I guess so. It doesn't show up. But I mean, 3,000 might be overkill, but it might not, since I guess that's the bottom limit. So, like you're saying, the default value here.
Well, yeah, the default value in the effect layer settings, and then you adjust the height to what you need when you're wanting water on the route. That way, when you say create a cutting or similar through a mountain, you don't end up with water showing in it.
Yeah, fair enough. I'll just note, if you do want to change the entire layer, the bulk adjust tool is what you use. That'll avoid having to use the height down on every single section of your water. You can add multiple layers of water, so if you want to have one particular area of water up here and another one way down here, you can just continue to add different layers and adjust them as needed. Yeah, so I think we'll leave the water there. Hopefully that answers the question. I'm not quite sure. If it didn't, post again and we'll see what we can come up with for you. Next question.
Let's see. Here's one from Anders Hove. What strategies to prevent PBR textures floating on tracks and roads and textures?
Oh, okay. Is that
how do you know which are compatible? There seems like endless permutations of errors, not just PBR versus non-PBR.
Okay, so
a big part of it comes down to if the creators set appropriate heights on the texture. There's a few creators are making dead flat PBR textures that have the height set at the maximum height up, and that's causing them to effectively float.
is that So the texture themselves is floating, or it's showing through like the track and whatnot?
It's basically showing through the track because, like, if you think of your parallax being like 0 to 1,
Yeah.
the default is 0.5, so halfway. And there's a whole heap of textures that are being set where the height is actually at the maximum height.
Yeah.
So it doesn't match anything at all. But a lot of those creators are, by my guess, testing with the shaders turned down so they're not actually seeing it.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so I've got my shaders set to extreme, I think it is. Is that the option? Yeah. And so you do get that displacement mapping and parallax mapping all in one. And so you do end up with things like this, where this is kind of the texture I use to test that 0 and 1 range. It's kind of, this is nearly using the full range, and as you can see, that track looks like it's well above the ground at that point, even though the ground itself, the polygons, is probably where I left it before. If I can go back, oh, here we go. So that's where the ground itself, well, with parallax would have been sitting. Now we use displacement mapping, and it actually deforms the terrain, so that is true to what the terrain is actually doing. If you want to get away from that, then you're going to have to use another texture, because this particular texture that I've created has that full range. And if you 0 to 1 this way, but if you think of it as the track's here, and you've got 1 is the maximum here, and 0 is here, if you bring that range back down, you're going to have the tracks sit always within the points that you're probably happy with. But because this texture takes up that range, you're getting these steep holes in some areas, and you're getting it cover up the track in, like, up the top in other areas. So it's that range for that texture. So it's not a bug. It's definitely not a bug. It's how the texture's made, and how the creator, I guess, wanted to use it at the time. Perhaps it was used on a cliff face or whatnot. They didn't intend it to be used under a track. That said, you can always take your track, and for this particular route, you can manipulate it, and I would highly recommend that you test it on extreme shader settings and basic shader settings to see what they look like, because you might find that on the extreme shader settings it looks really good and everything's hidden, but when you turn that off, it looks like the ballast has been eaten by whatever texture you put on there. So you definitely do want to do a few tests there. Next question.
Go ahead, Zach.
I've got one, it's a simple one from Joseph Wyand about why a route's starting with textures on the baseboards. We've changed to having, by default, a grass texture instead of the grid. Hopefully that will make new routes look a little bit easier to work with at times. There's a couple of things you can change to the grid view in the grand menu in the top menus. I think Paul can possibly find that one for me.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just about to jump in. I've got a user data folder that is massive, and I wanted to start with a fresh one. So I'll just load that one up, and I'll show you potentially
anyway,
the new texture.
You can also change the region. The default texture is set by the region now. Most of them, like most regions, don't have a specific texture set, so they will default to the grass texture. However, there are a few. There's one called Grid Region that you can select for any new baseboards added to a route, or a new route that you create will display a grid instead. I guess we're trying to get away from the grid, because it's now an option you can just turn on and off. So to avoid having a route with all the grid texture all over it to begin with, and then you have to go and paint every single part of that grid texture to hide it, right now, for a while now, we've transitioned to having a ground texture, so that
if majority of your route is grass or whatever you set it in the region, it might be dirt, then you don't have to paint your entire route anymore. You can just load up the region and it puts that default texture down. And if you want the grid, you can go up to the, I'll just get the right name, display menu, ground, and turn on the grid. And that will put the grid on the terrain for you, and you can use it if you use it for measurements or whatnot. And when you're done, you can just go up to the display menu, ground, and then textured again, and you're back to where you were when you started. So you have not lost the grid. The grid is there. It's just a more convenient way of, I guess, route creation, is having that texture that you would actually use in your creations as opposed to having to paint over the grid. I will mention, like, we're playing around with the base versions of the textures. There's been a couple of iterations for the Trainz Plus guys. I'm thinking we might settle on something like this. Please comment if you like it. We don't hear enough from you guys in terms of these things until we release. So definitely these streams might help with hearing your feedback before we release, and that would be very handy to make everyone happy. So that's the grid question there, or the ground texture to begin with as a new route. What's next?
Let's see. I've got a question here from Discord. With DirectX 12, are there any plans for any kind of clouds?
That would be on my wish list, but no, not in the foreseeable future. I mean, it will definitely one day make it into Trainz, but we have a long list of things, and DirectX is the focus, but clouds is not in that list at the moment. So no, there won't be any sort of volumetric clouds or anything in the near future. However, when the time comes, we will be looking at all options, whether that's something we develop internally or whether that's a third party that has a whole team working on a fantastic environment that we can just plug into the game. But we will get there, but let's get DirectX 12 done and dusted and performing really well first, and then we can move on to something else like environments.
Yep. Okay. I've seen a couple of questions about weather effects, and I believe they fall under the same heading here.
Yep.
But I will note that there are a lot of options for creating some very impressive weather effects if you adjust the environment settings in your session to suit them. So if you're putting a cloudy overcast sky asset on your route, you really need to adjust the environment settings in the route to match that. It won't do it automatically, but it means that you have complete control over how it's going to look.
Let me bring up Kickstone County so we're not looking at a blank route. I can load up some of the environment settings now and just run through them quickly, because I know when we moved from the old legacy renderer to PBR, the environment settings definitely got a shake up in terms of the look of things and the lighting, and we've shoehorned it into our environment settings to work with those new updates, and it can be a little bit daunting when you first get in there. There's a lot of things going on in that one particular UI. So I can run through that super quick to just give you a few tips on, I guess, how to adjust your lighting to make it look a little better, a lot better. I don't know what your lighting looks like, but I can definitely give you some tips anyway on how to adjust that. So we'll just wait for the route to load up. I'll come back to that question if you want to fire another one while we're waiting for the loading screen.
We got a couple questions. I don't know if it's from the same user in a couple different places about hardware. This is from Pacific on the Discord channel. He says, I got a new gaming rig with a 4060 GPU and 32 gigs of RAM. Is a 4060 a bit overkill for Trainz?
Oh, you can never have enough performance. Sure, it's just I don't think so.
I don't disagree.
I think one of the big things is, and I saw a few comments about optimization and performance as well. With Trainz, majority of the content is user created, so it's made by guys like you that are in the community. and not all of them are overly well optimized. As an example, I was running a friend's route covering part of the Victorian Rail network last night, and I noticed that my frame rate absolutely tanked. And when I had a look at the stats that can be shown in Driver, it actually showed me that one specific telegraph pole asset was performing very badly. It turns out that telegraph pole was about 180,000 polys per...
It was a nice looking telegraph pole though, I'm sure.
Well, it was, but I like, this is a 200 plus kilometre long route, and it's got this telegraph pole along it.
Oh right.
And
Oh, so
I
it's...
had about 10 million polygons just in telegraph poles because it had almost no LOD. The LOD switched it from 180,000 to 22,000, and that was it.
Yeah, fair
It was
enough.
invisible forever onwards.
Look, on that note, I think I did think about this. I think we should do a stream basically for content creators on how to optimize your, like, check for optimizations on your route and drilling right down to the individual assets within your route. There are so many tools within Surveyor and even Content Manager where it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to filter on certain things to be able to say, oh wow, okay, it's that particular asset that's slowing me down, or I'm doing this in a certain way which I should do it a different way, and you might get 20 frame performance. Like, it's that drastic that because we are a heavily user generated content game, that if you don't know what you're doing, you can easily stuff up the frame rate. But if you do know what you're checking for, then yeah, you can get a lot out of these tools. So I think what we will do is stream that and sit down for a few hours and talk to people who are interested in that. Okay, getting back to the lighting. For those who didn't see where I went, it's up in the edit menu and then down to edit environment, and then this top tab is your lighting. I'll go into the others if I need to later, but this one's where you want to be. This gives you the time of day, and then around the outside of the clock, you've got the points in which you have customized these times, and it'll just kind of interpolate between each of those points based on the settings you've given each point. So if I click on this point, all this underneath here is the setting I've made for that particular point. So it's early morning, about 7 o'clock. We really should update this. So 6, 7, yeah, 12. Okay, so it's about 7 o'clock, and what we've got here is there is a fog slider down the bottom. So I guess it depends where you are in the world, what atmosphere you're going for, but this slider allows you to bring in the fog, and it kind of, I would expect a morning scene to have a bit of fog. It looks nice, but it only looks nice if you configure it correctly, because it is a little bit hidden, and I will give you the pro tip on this. This is more of like a power user feature. In the box here of the skybox, you've got three parts to the skybox: the top part, the middle part, and the bottom part. And these refer to the skybox that you're seeing in the background here. So the top part, color, the middle part, and then the bottom part we kind of can't see, which is underneath the terrain. If you go to the edge, you'll be able to see it. The bottom part is also controls the color of your fog. So if I was to change this to blue, then my fog color is going to be blue, right? So I've found when I've been creating the atmosphere for my route is that you want to try and get the fog color a pretty close color or contrast to your skybox. So that would be pretty close to where we were before with this one. It's probably a bit more blue than anything. Bring that right back. And when you see the fog kind of match that sky color, it starts to eliminate that kind of fog line you get from your skybox to the fog itself, because the skybox doesn't actually get fogged, so you get this harsh line if you get it wrong. So that's my pro tip on that. I kind of try and marry up the fog color with the skybox, and I feel that gives it a nice look. Moving on to the skybox itself, again, changing the color is just going to change the sky. So if your skybox that you have chosen, you can't find a color for, you can adjust the mid and top color of the skybox to match your fog, so that kind of helps as well. And then you've got your ambient color, which is basically your shadow color here. You can see me changing this, changes the color of the shadows. You can make more harsh shadows by bringing it all the way down. For like a UK route, it might be overcast, you might want to bring that all the way up, and again you get really light shadows here, and that also can be changed by changing your overall brightness slider on the side here to bring it into like more of a dull day. And then your sun color as well is you can change that, turn that right down, so at that point your shadows are really faint, and it's kind of looking really overcast, and that's from changing your ambient color, which is your shadows, and your sun color, which is the directional light. So yeah, having a play around with those, and again, that's the point that I used. You can add points if you want to transition it faster from there to there. Say you just want it overcast from 7 o'clock to say 10 o'clock, and then make it sunny after that. You can do it that way. There's also settings in the sessions that you can add a rule to make overcast days, but you won't have probably the customization that you've got here. But yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's the environment settings that you can mess around with. Again, you can delete them as well. I don't want to go into too many specifics on one particular topic, so I will leave it there. But again, I think there's so many streams we can do that are specific to functionality that I think we'll get some feedback. We'll do some polls. Joe, you can get those out there, and we'll start doing some streams on the popular stuff. How are we looking? We're already in about 10 o'clock. I know we started late, so we will add a bit of time on at the end, but probably about an hour and a half left. So let's try and knock some more questions out.
I saw one question earlier that should be pretty quick to answer.
Yep.
Will I still be able to export my own content just like I have been in TRS 19, or has it changed in TRS 22? It hasn't changed. You can still export your content out the same as you did in TRS 19. There's no real changes there.
No. It's all about
yeah.
backwards compatibility. Like, we try and keep it so that the content that was created 20 years ago works in Trainz, and the way you get content in and out, it may change, but it's fundamentally the same way. You want to be using Content Manager, but yeah, it should import and export. Well, let me clear that up. If you're exporting from Trainz 22 and trying to put it back in a 20-year-old product, it's probably not going to go really well for you. But if you're taking a previous product and bringing it forward, then that should be seamless, I guess, is how I'll say that. If you run into problems, contact support or the content creation team, and we can sort you out. But yeah, as far as we know, all the content should move forward very easily. Can Train Simulator 3 get Surveyor? It's coming, is all I can say. I know there'll be a lot of questions on Train Simulator 3.
We got a question from Adam, who is really wondering if the original Adair train driver will be added back into Trainz 22 with an animated portrait like the other ones.
Oh, look, it's not. Nothing's.
He's asked this question a few times. He's really wondering.
Nothing's impossible. It could happen, but I don't.
There's also nothing stopping someone making animated driver portraits. They're not a fixed system. They are just driver character assets. So
yeah, if someone wants to find him and put him on the download station, we're not going to probably pull it down. So you go for your life. If you need him, he's there. You can have him. Otherwise, no, it's probably not high on our list at the moment.
I got a question from earlier when we first jumped on here from Peter Cooper, who was asking, is there an easy way to copy an entire driver's command list in Surveyor session edit mode without using the old driver schedule rules?
I think there was actually a driver command that could copy commands from another driver.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that existed.
I've tended to avoid doing things like that just in case something goes wrong. Another one worth looking at is, I know the Settle and Carlisle and Potteries Loop Line routes had some systems that would predefine blocks of driver commands, and then throughout the session would assign those driver commands as they went. That way you're sort of only programming small blocks at a time.
Okay, so oh, that's really handy. There's a dare. So he's saying he's filled up this with driver commands, and again, we're just touching on this. We can do a whole stream on setting up a session rules in a session, because it's you know, it's probably new to a lot of people, but it's probably more of a power user topic as well, maybe an intermediate topic. So you're saying that he's setting up all these commands and he wants to be able to copy those commands and put them on another driver. Is that right?
Let me read back here. That's what it sounds like, yeah.
Okay, so the way I would probably do it, if that's the case, that you just don't want to, you've got so many commands, but you want another driver to do the exact same thing or something similar, what you could do, and I'm kind of just off the top of my head here, these options that do certain things, you could turn them all off, and you obviously need a vehicle to choose as well, but you could save that out, you could copy it, and then I believe you could change the driver. Oh, if I actually change the driver, there it is, and the vehicle. Don't have any vehicles at the moment. And then save that again. I think that would work.
Not really. I don't think having multiple driver setup rules in the session works well. That's where using the driver schedule command rules comes in. Like, you'll set up one of those rules with the commands in it and then copy paste that as needed.
I would try it, because I have done that in the past. I've had multiple driver setup rules in the past, and I didn't find too many problems with it. So Peter, maybe give it a go. If you do find problems with it, let me know, because we'll try and work out why that wouldn't work. But yeah, Zach could be right. It might be problematic, but I think that might work. There you go. I don't know. Keep them rolling. What's next?
Dennis Smith asked about hints or explanations for using triggers.
Okay.
I'll just sort of give a quick idea of how I use them. So when I build my sessions, I build them with a little bit of the idea of them being, say, actors moving around a set or similar, and the triggers are when a particular vehicle passes over a trigger, it triggers things to happen. So, for example, in a session I recently put together, when when the player train crossed over a trigger, as you drove out of a loco depot, it triggered another AI train in the depot to start driving out, and it creates the illusion that things are actually happening whilst it's all very scripted and under control. If you have the Mojave subdivision routes from Jointed Rail the route that came with TS12, if you have the newer versions of that in Tane, TRS19, etc., that's actually a route that I took route that its sessions gave me a lot of inspiration for that idea, where you use triggers to cause events to happen around the player. In terms of session rules, I generally use the trigger check rule. There's a couple of settings in there. There's some documentation on the wiki and that about it. the trigger check rule means that you do that, then you might do an ordered list, and then you tell things to happen after that.
Sorry, I've got a million assets. I don't know how many assets I've got. It just takes so long. I think it's like a terabyte of content in this user data folder, so it may take a little bit of time to show up, but we'll get there. I was going to give a brief look at how these work, but again, I don't know how much we want to touch on this stuff. I don't even know what half these logos are.
I think it's something that, like, session creation is probably something we could actually do a bit of a stream on in future.
Yeah, I think so. Look, I've just put down a marker and a trigger. They're the two main things that I use in session creation. I was just putting a logo down. I was going to give a bit of a demo, but I think I'll just talk you through it. Basically, what happens is in your sessions, you can add this thing, and I'll do it again, called a trigger check, like Zach was saying. You can then edit and go a couple of options there. I'm going to leave them as they are. I then add my trigger in. I've only got one trigger in this particular route, and it's test one trigger, but otherwise you'll have them all listed. So I've selected that one. It moves actually the camera to show you which one you've got selected. And then there's another option here that says, does it accept all trains and trigger on all trains, or does it accept specific trains? And usually I will highlight the train I want to set the trigger off. And at that point, that's all set. That trigger rule will fire when the train gets within the radius I've set here. So I've set it to 5.9 meters, but you can set the radius by just adjusting this next to it. And once the train goes within that trigger, that session rule will fire. And once this session rule fires, you can put whatever children underneath that rule. So you can, I usually just use the control and the arrow keys to indent stuff, but down the bottom here there's some indentation that you can use for the UI. And so that's pretty much it. I'll just put that as test. What the train will do is when it runs over the trigger, a message pop-up will show, and in the message pop-up will say test. So another thing we can do with our track marker is we can add navigation points or displays, and you give it an ID. And again, I'll just keep using test. You can specifically say only show for certain trains when you're actually in the train, and then the location is where do you want this first point to show up in the world. And I'm gonna put it to show up on test 1, which is the track marker. And then I'm going to use, there's a base navigation points asset. It holds a whole bunch of icons. I'm going to give it no display text. I don't want any text to display on top of that navigation point. And then I'm going to select I'll just leave it as the proceed forward icon. That's the default. And the style is, once I get to that track marker within a certain threshold, it might be like a meter or two, it will automatically check this one off, and it'll move on to another navigation point if I have it there. So I'm going to leave that exactly the way it is. I'm going to add another navigation point quickly, so I don't drag this out too much. I'm going to put it as a stop. I'm going to manually put it as requires a stop, so it knows that manually you have to check these off, and we'll go into that in another session. Requires a stop. And at that point I can go wait, and I believe it's wait for navigation, down a bit further maybe, there it is, wait on navigation point, and it's on the root layer, so it doesn't matter where I put this particular check in the set of rules. So navigation point 1 is going to the track mark. And then the ID of this was test. That's the navigation set. I called it test. And so now once this first point gets hit, it's going to then report to that check, and anything under that check will then run. So for example, I can put this trigger check underneath the navigation check because I know that's going to be hit first. And so it'll hit that, and then the trigger will start to be checked so that if they go around the other way and hit the trigger first, nothing will happen because they haven't hit that first navigation point. And that's pretty much it, because the second navigation point requires a stop. So when I run this, and I think I've got debug mode on. Oh, someone asked in the, I think it was outside of the chat, how do I switch between Surveyor and Driver in the recent products? And it's as simple as going up to your Tools menu and edit in Surveyor or Drive Session, and that you just can switch between them both. You're not in the old products where you had to log out and it'd unload the route and log back in and it'd load the route up again in whatever particular tool you wanted to use, or Driver or Surveyor. Now you just click Drive Session. Hopefully the desktop isn't too loud. And that's it. So now you're in your session. You're able to test it. Sorry, I've got a lot of content, so nothing's going to be probably pre-cached. I don't know what script errors I've got going on here, but God knows. So I would imagine, so that's fired because it's hit that track mark, and it seems like my trigger has failed for some reason. Anyway, again, I've quickly set this up. I'm not sure where my errors are. I should have read the script errors, but in essence, it hits the trigger, it hits the track mark, removes the navigation point, moves on to the trigger, shows the message. So it's a very simple showcase or examples I've just given there, but again, we'll make a whole session on this sort of stuff, and we can go through some really complex consist checks, industry queue checks, all sorts of stuff, whatever you guys want when we do some session streams on that. So that stuff. There we go. Sorry, that took way longer than it should have.
While you're on the topic of talking about the triggers, somebody had asked, where is it here? On the topic of triggers, is there a way to change the trigger radius on junctions and triggers, just like we used to? I saw you do it on the trigger there. Maybe show it again.
Yeah, the trigger radius is as simple as getting your one of the tools, either the Find Placement tool or the Free Move tool, and you're just holding your mouse.
Do we have that on junctions though? I'm not sure if that works on junctions.
No, I was going to say the same thing. I'm pretty sure junctions are a set threshold. You can't edit that.
In Surveyor Classic, you can use the Set Trigger Radius tool to set the trigger radius for a junction, which is incredibly useful in yards for where you need to be able to stop really close to junctions for switching moves.
That was the set what, sorry?
The Set Trigger Radius tool in Surveyor Classic.
Oh, where you could just click on them all with the tool? Is that what?
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe.
Yeah.
I haven't tried this. Maybe. I don't know where the multi-select would work. I don't think it would actually. Might as well demo it and see if it does. Oh, there you go. Multi-select works. So if you want to select a bunch of them and just do that, then that's going to adjust it all for you as well. So that's going to make your life a lot easier.
Interesting.
But yeah, even I find out new things with the software. I will mention that I think you used to be able to change the junctions in Classic Surveyor by clicking on them. In here, you're going to the contextual menu and going change junction at that point. I don't think there's another way of doing it. Please feel free to tell me if there is. Yeah. All right. Next question. I feel like the plan of attack with the secondary stuff I was going to talk about is going to get thrown out the window. I think we're just going to have too many questions, so we'll just make it a Q&A session today and schedule in some more streamings, live streaming later to touch on that stuff.
When will the bulk
the bud?
The bulk replace be added to Surveyor 2?
Bulk replace. There is a bulk replace in testing now for ground textures. So that user interface will, if it's not now, will get extended to all other assets, just like Classic Surveyor allows you to do certain bulk replace functionality. But I have tested it with the new S20 bulk replace with texture replacement, and that all works. I haven't tested it with replacing assets. So it may or may not be in the first release of that tool, but that tool should be coming in the next Trainz Plus update. I will mention a few little things to do with updating your assets. It's not a whole route bulk replace, but it probably will help you in a lot of situations. So if you want to replace one asset with another, you can, instead of actually clicking on one of it, right clicking and replace object with selected asset, so we'll swap that tree over with that tree. You don't have to do that one by one. There is a limited radius. If you double click on an asset, I'll come out and it might even show you. So there's this limited radius that S20 has to do a local bulk replace on certain assets. And so you can double click on those trees. Again, you can replace the objects and it will replace it with whatever you've got selected in the asset palette. So that's pretty useful. I use that a lot. Again, there's other things you can do with that. You can see that these textures have like a what is it, a leaf texture underneath it or whatnot. I've done that by double clicking on the trees, going to my paintbrush and setting a radius on that to be the distance on how I want that painted down under the tree, selecting a appropriate texture, and then at that point I kind of lose my contextual menu. So the the T button will bring up the contextual menu if you lose it. It is on one of these things around, trust me, I've looked for it, it's there. But if you lose it, I just press T. That's the easiest way to show up. And then you can go paint under selected, and it will paint little rings the size of your brush radius under whatever you've got selected. You don't even have to have the one tree selected. You can multi-select heaps of things and do it that way. So that's a handy way to paint under things as well as splines. You can paint under splines doing it that way, and it'll stick to the brush radius. So there's already bulk tools in S20, and again, we need a whole stream on this, so let's leave it there. But we can show you all the power user features in another stream, I think. Hopefully, I'm answering things and not just moving on. I hope I'm touching on the right things.
Yeah, I think we are. On the note of bulk replace for bridges and similar, unfortunately, because bridges and a few other asset types like that, like double track, have multiple splines in them that can change in position between different assets, those assets simply can't be replaced using a bulk asset replace, because when you replace it, the asset you replace it with could end up moving the track 3 meters to the right, sort of thing, and nothing matches up, and no one would be happy with the end results on that. So
fair enough.
There's some assets types you will have to manually change no matter what.
Yeah, that's right. There is some things just aren't compatible for certain reasons, as Zach said. So if you find you're running into a limitation, no doubt it's because we just don't allow that because of some particular reason. I was going to go into selection and all sorts of things, but let's just keep it light for this Q&A session, and we can drill into all those sorts of things with an S20 stream. I think you've got one as well, Joe, on your Approach Medium channel. You did a while back.
What's that?
S20 like lightly touched on all the different pallets and whatnot.
If you go into my most recent live stream, I think it was about a month ago, I covered a whole bunch of stuff on Surveyor 2, just sort of dabbling around, trying to get people started with it, and just covered some of the basics and that sort of thing. So that's in the playback on my channel. There you
go. Jump over there. It saves me having to spend a few hours doing exactly what Joe's already done. But we will do a live stream on it, I'm sure. What else have we got?
We got a good question here that's come up twice so far. What happens when your Trainz Plus ends?
What happens when your Trainz Plus ends?
Subscription.
Okay, well, I mean, it's like any subscription. What happens when your Netflix subscription ends? It's a subscription. you're paying a small amount to have access to everything, the whole suite of DLC, and all the exclusive content and the exclusive features. When it ends, you lose access to Trainz Plus build and any DLC that you don't own. Most of the time, I'm pretty sure that you will get access to Trainz 22 if you've had it for 12 months, like an annual subscription. It might have been through a deal or whatnot, but I think majority of people would have that. So I guess you don't lose everything. If you've got the annual subscription, you do get access to that future product, or the product that you've been using, the mainstream product. But yes, you will lose access to the exclusive features and any DLC that you do not own, you have not purchased. That's how subscriptions work. What's the next question?
I've got one here. The question is multiplayer out yet?
Multiplayer.
So do we want to touch on multiplayer?
Okay, multiplayer is getting phased out, if I remember correctly. Legacy multiplayer will eventually be phased out for we currently call it multiplayer Surveyor. I think we need to change the name because it is world building, a collaborative world building multiplayer, and it is 100% driving trains. Like, it's multiplayer as you know it, but the name of it I think is confusing some people. You can jump into multiplayer Surveyor and you can build the worlds with your friends, or you can take an existing route or build the world out and then drive trains to your heart's content in multiplayer. You don't have to just build worlds in MPS. So MPS, which the name might change, is definitely the new multiplayer. You go in there, you create worlds together, you drive trains together. So forget about the old legacy multiplayer. That will not be worked on anymore. It hasn't been for a while. We're moving fully to MPS, where the experience is a whole lot better and there are so many more benefits to it. So a new patch just rolled out on Trainz Plus for MPS, and I think Joe and I will jump in on an MPS stream. We were doing a few, but we stopped that and tried to plan for this live stream to get this all ready, so that moving forward we can use this particular platform to do different things like the S20 creation streams and all sorts of things, even like MPS. So we will get back to that, hoping if we can put together something and you guys are interested and you have access to MPS, we might do something before Christmas where everyone jumps in, and we might do a little Christmas route or make something together. So we'll see if anyone's interested in that.
I'll throw in that I've done a couple of sessions in MPS with some mates on my Healesville route, which I set up a private MPS route with that to try it out, and we had a lot of fun, fair bit of success with it. That was quite a while ago, so there's been a lot of improvement since then, but it definitely gives you a lot more flexibility compared to the legacy multiplayer.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially like being able to configure the industries on the fly, and if you find that we need a slightly different track arrangement here in a multiplayer setting, even though it's a prototype route, I can do as the real railways did and go, okay, make this yard just a little bit bigger.
Oh yeah, it's if you're playing in multiplayer and if you're playing the legacy multiplayer and you like that, then you're missing out. Is what I'm going to say. You need to jump over to MPS and check it out. Like Trainz 22, the standalone product, it has access to at least 2 routes on MPS that everyone can jump in and everyone can experience. You don't have to have Trainz Plus, but if you do subscribe to Trainz Plus, you get access to all the full MPS tools and unlimited amounts of uploading whatever routes you want and adding all that content into your routes. It gives you access to all the DLC so that you can toggle on those packages and use those packages to build your routes in MPS. There's no limitations there with Trainz Plus. So anyway, check it out. It's definitely worth having a look, and we'll do some streams on it so that we can show people what it's about and how to do certain things within it. And I think we just released an MPS Trainz multiplayer surveyor video that you created, Joe, right? So they can check that out as well.
I don't believe we've made that one live yet. I think it's still in the queue. It's pending.
I mean, we're about to release is what I meant. So it shouldn't be far away, but that should give you a little bit of an idea on it as well. So yeah. Sorry, I thought we had released that already. So many videos you're pumping out, Joe. It's great.
I know.
An interesting question, at least from my point of view. Anders Hove has asked, Trainz has expanding, but it doesn't do everything. Unfortunately, I haven't seen many people taking advantage of that yet.
No, the current TNI is implemented for physics and I believe controllers. So you can get access to that the APIs within the code for physics and input by the sounds of it. But that as far as we've taken that. Eventually, I believe there'll be hooks in for all sorts of things in Surveyor, so that we can get people creating their own sort of third-party software that will manipulate the terrain and do things within Surveyor. However, that's not coming anytime soon. Don't quote me on when it's coming. I haven't set any dates or anything, but that is where we're headed, so that people can do more and more. I guess outside of the application to hook into the application. So yeah, definitely on the cards.
Hopefully most of that came through. Apparently a few people had it freeze up for a moment then.
Oh, okay. Is it back to normal now? Oh, it's now back.
It seems to be.
Okay.
Seems to be, yeah.
Another question I saw, someone asked about like light flare off lights at night. I don't know if you've got them in your local install, Paul. You should have, I think, an asset called Streetlight 10.
Oh gosh,
I'm pretty sure it's built in.
I got a lot of assets.
It's one of the TAC streetlights.
Streetlight 10. There we go. Let me just put it in a pick list.
Place that down and turn it to night, and then try and look up a little bit at the light. It has a very nice flare effect on it.
I love Picklists. Oh my gosh, I've missed them so much when we didn't have them. Alright, Picklist. Right, so I'm putting some of these down anywhere, is that right?
Yeah.
Let's chuck a couple around. Alright, so turn it to night time.
I think your train might have frozen.
It did?
I see it moving. It looks.
Oh no.
It's good? Oh, okay.
That looks good.
I do have
Might be some latency.
I think I have the bit rate set to like 6,000 because I thought I'm all new to this, so I thought streaming would make it a bit prettier for people. But if I need to turn that down, you let me know. It might stream it a bit faster for people. Okay. Obviously the quality would suffer, but that's okay. It's up to you guys. So we turn it down to nighttime, I should say. And at some point, these fire. Is that the idea, Zach?
Yeah. So they've got night mode on them. They'll progressively light up. They don't all do it at once.
Right.
They'll light up after a few moments.
Well, I mean, some things are lighting up.
There's no light pool underneath them. Instead, they've just got a light effect on the light itself.
I did have two in there, so maybe one's from the DLS.
I'm talking about the TAC assets.
Yeah, that looks like the one.
You have to sort of look up at the.
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Got ya. There you go. I thought it might have had a decal underneath it.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Got ya. Yeah. Right. So that's using emissive textures and
yes. And an HDR effect so that you get that flaring effect on the light.
Yeah, cool. That's nice. Alright.
It's surprisingly simple to set up on PBR assets that have night modes, so
okay.
It's just something that for creators it might be helpful for creating those sorts of lights.
Yeah. I didn't know about that one. Again, you can open this stuff up even if it's built in. If you want to look at our content, you can take a look at there it is. I guess you can take a look at how it's built. trying to bring as much as I can onto the screen. This one uses a asset library, so again, if you can't find all the details within the folder itself, you might want to go list dependencies, and then it will show you the library that it belongs to, and then under there you will be able to see what it is actually using. Again, you'll probably need to open the asset to actually reference what meshes it uses and textures itself, which are down here. But yeah, you'll be able to see how it's configured, load them up into whatever software you use to make your content. And under night mode, I assume it'll be the one we're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, look, there is so much to Trainz that we cannot possibly cover it in one stream, let alone probably a year's worth of streams. But again, if we can do some polls on what's popular and what you guys want to hear about, we can definitely do more streams. All right, keep it rolling. We're running out of time, I think. What are we looking like? 10:30. Probably 45 minutes left, I reckon, and we'll probably call it a day, a night, wherever we are.
We got a TLR question here, and I think I probably know what the answer is, but when is the Trainz Living Railroad going to work for passenger service? Is it being worked on?
Yes, it is. When is it going to work? That's up to the developers. if they get the code right the first time, should be great. But I doubt that's going to happen. So no, we'll be bug testing in all seriousness. We're in development of it now, and there'll be plenty of testing going on before it gets out to our Trainz Plus guys, and then we're going to hear from them and their feedback to see what whether our initial implementation works well, and after that, if all goes well and everyone's happy with it and we've made a few changes, eventually that will roll out to the mainstream product as well. So, but yeah, the next phase, I can't remember if it's phase 2 or the following phase after that gets the passenger service added to it. So we can just check on the Trainz Plus website. I'm pretty sure we keep that up to date fairly often, and it will tell you what to expect with Trainz Living Railroad. What's next?
We had a question about the UI. It's a little wordy, so I think that the gist of it is, do you think that the UI GUI is as intuitive as it's going to get?
For Surveyor? For Driver?
I'm assuming for Surveyor, yeah.
Right.
It's just sort of a general UI GUI question.
I will say that the main menu and how you access your routes and your accounts and your DLC and all that sort of stuff, that is changing. We are in the middle of making what we think is better, so it'll hopefully allow you guys to find your content much better and communicate with you guys a lot better. So that's changing. But as to the user interface in Surveyor and Driver, Driver will probably get an update for the next product in a few areas. Surveyor, where it makes sense, we will update, but it's fairly streamlined at the moment. I guess it's a lot different than classic Surveyor, but once you get to know, I guess, the workings of it all, and the ability that you can, if you don't like the way it's sitting, you can undock things and change your own layout to best fit how you want it to be. Obviously that's not the perfect layout that I've done there, but just showcasing what you can do with these things. You can move them all around and put them in different positions, scale them however you like, and turn windows on and off. So S20 is probably going to stay pretty close to the way it is for a while. When it rolls out onto mobile and potentially other platforms, we do have to factor in the user interface for those platforms and how it will work best for those platforms, and some of those changes may get rolled back, or most likely will get rolled into the desktop version. So there will be changes that come, but there's nothing significant on the horizon that we know is problematic at this moment. But if you feel there you're not happy with something, or you want to voice your opinion about something and a positive change somewhere, we're all ears. We'll definitely listen.
Yeah, that's such a subjective question. It's gonna be everybody's gonna have a different answer for what is the best UI.
That's true.
Definitely.
Yeah. That is true. Yeah.
A couple of other ones that I've just noticed in the chat. There's the question if we're going to improve Surveyor Classic any further, or if it's going away.
Surveyor Classic is not getting touched. It is had its day. It is everything, all the new features like HD terrain. It's all customized to S20. There's we're not going to be maintaining two surveyors. It's just too much work, and there's no point really.
And the other one, which is actually a really good question. Is there any possibility of being able to dock the Surveyor 2 pallets onto another screen?
Oh, actually, I think I did talk to the development team about this, and I believe that is something that they're aiming to do. So you'll be able to drag it all out outside the application itself. So yeah, I'm going to say yes on that. I could be in trouble for that. And then I'll have to do it, so it's a win-win.
The one thing I will say is what I've done a few times is I've actually expanded my Trainz window just a little bit and placed the pallets very slightly onto the other screens, so it's not quite being able to just place them anywhere on the other screen, but it does sort of clear your main screen of the clutter of them.
Yeah.
While still, yeah.
One thing I think I will ask them is when you undock everything. I thought it was actually something that used to happen, and it would slide away, and it would go smaller, but I guess it doesn't. So it would be nice to have that kind of, or if you hid all these, then obviously you'd want those side panels to be hidden as well. That would be kind of cool. So I guess I'll suggest that to them, and that'll probably be pretty easy to do as well.
One other question I saw, which is one that a small group of users, or creators specifically, brings up every now and again, is support for 4K textures.
Yeah, look, being the content is primarily made by content creators of all kinds of different skill sets. Giving them access to 4K textures and saying, kind of putting a limit on that, you can't once you release it, we would run into a lot more performance issues with content that is not optimized at all. It would be a nightmare. You'd be loading up several 4K textures to a video card, and people's cards at the moment sometimes struggle with the 2K textures. So yeah, I cannot see it happening anytime soon, being a heavily user-generated content application. If you want to look on the internet for tips on how to create models to get the most out of slicing them up and using your 4K textures to get higher resolution, just Google how that looks and how people do that, how professionals do it, because that's the only way you're going to probably get higher resolution. You're probably not going to use 2K's worth of texture on the side of the body of a locomotive and expect super crisp resolution. You're going to have to break it up into sections, and how you do that, then Zach will hate me for saying that because he doesn't want to do that, but it's I think it's helpful when we're able to sort of explain the situation on that one. Yeah, it's a performance thing. That's purely like the engine can do it. There's no problem. We could enable it, but it is going to bring everyone's performance down, because once those assets get out there, we have no control really of making sure that they're the best they can be. Like you were saying about your telegraph pole, someone could literally put 20 4K textures in an asset. You load that up, and everything just blows up.
That can still be done with 2K, but it's more the we're seeing assets that have, say, 6 or 7 2K textures on them, And my expectation is that a lot of creators would simply just up-res the existing textures to 4K without any thought to the consequences.
Yeah, with any benefit. Yeah, that's true as well. There are a lot of problems with it. So yeah, no, it's. I'm giving you messages when I'm getting fed to the development team. Obviously, I would like to build in 4K because it would make my life a little easier as well. But I can understand the problems that comes with it. So yeah, and it's. I understand it and I accept it. So unfortunately, everyone else is going to have to as well until they allow you to put 10 GPUs in your machine. Which I don't know. I'm not a hardware guy. I'm sure you can probably do stuff like that, but it's it's not happening anytime soon.
Jim Depps actually asked one that I mentioned to you the other day would be good for this stream. His is specifically to have flags and similar move in the wind, but there's the...
Like dynamically? Like cloth simulation or something? Yeah, look, I know we've got physics in there. So...
Well, I was going to say there's the new clutter stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Foliage.
Yeah, I mean that was meant to be for the end of the video. So, but given that we've got through none of the list, I may as well just jump to it anyway. All right, let me try and load that up. Keep firing questions, and I'm gonna show you Clutter 2.0, or I call it Clutter 2.0. It's just Clutter, but it's the next version of Clutter. This is what you guys can expect for content creation, especially, and obviously if you're playing your routes and viewing it all in all sorts of detail. This is the next iteration of what you can expect with Clutter. So fire away some questions. I'll load that up in a sec.
So just to note that this, at this stage, shouldn't be used for things like flags. I'm sure there are many of us that...
unless you want flags on the ground, I guess. Anyway. I don't think you're going to get flags in the air with this, but we'll see.
But it does have its uses for natural objects that will move in the wind, as Paul will be able to show.
Yeah, okay.
It's something that I'm actually quite excited to see as well.
All right, so at the moment, I've got a pick list that has a bunch of, these are test assets. They still look good, but it's total test assets. So that's my little watermark on this. I've not configured any of the ground layers or the clutter layers to use anything but the defaults at the moment. So I'm kind of applying a few different ones that I know I think work well together. So I'll paint that all in. So you can see that the layers are happening down here. But when I move in, what we should get is some moving grass, which we haven't had with our clutter. And that's pretty much what Clutter 2.0 is going to give you. So it doesn't take much effort to set this up. It's a new material called m.foliage. It'll be all up on the wiki when we do get to releasing it. You have to have a little metadata text file along with each of your meshes to say what sort of animation you want. Outside of that, it's pretty much a normal asset, and you just need to put the shader in, and away it goes. So it's all hooked into the wind effect. So if you again, I won't turn the wind up too bad because we're still testing it. What the hell? You can now see what it does. That's obviously not realistic, but we will be tweaking this. But you can see, I guess it's some kind of noise pattern that it generates, and it's all tied into the wind itself. So yeah, that's the new Clutter 2.0. I'm calling it.
Yeah. From the little bit of playing I've done on a little test route, I'm ecstatic with it.
Yeah. Oh, there's other cool little things too, actually. I will mention, because I've always struggled with clutter, and sorry, I know we're getting away from the questions, but we got to show one feature in the film, in the live stream, surely.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I've always struggled with putting clutter on gradients, because it's kind of like you got your gradient and it just sticks out with the bottom of the mesh sticking out. So now there is a option to have it wrap, and I think it's called shear to the actual terrain. And you can see there, like obviously this is a bit extreme, but you can see there that the mesh is, you know, attaching its base, kind of like a spline would, to the terrain itself. So now you don't have the mesh kind of sticking straight out. And that's just an option you can set in the clutter itself. So now you can spray it all the way down your embankments and whatnot, and you don't have to strategically place the clutter or set your gradients in your effect layers to say, oh yeah, I want the terrain to cut off on a certain 0 to 10% gradient or something. So yeah,
it looks really good. That's really cool.
And again, it's only as good as your assets are. So these are test assets I've created. There's other different ones. I think I've got a nice little grass asset down here I was playing with before that is super seamless. So you can kind of not even see it until you get up nice and close, and even that has animation on it. But it depends how you want to blend the things together. Like this itself looks good, and you can't see any sort of transition as you move along with LOD because the color of the grass is very close to the color of the terrain or the ground texture. So that's what you want to really try and get to. Like that's like the Hail Mary, and you can kind of see as I paint it along there. Probably move over a bit more. As you paint along, you can kind of see how it grows. But it's that distance, getting it in the distance far enough, and then moving along, you kind of don't see it. It just transitions nicely. Anyway, I'm really happy with it. That's the next cluttered version that will be, if it's not released now with the latest patch, it will be in the next one for Trainz Plus. It could actually be released.
It's already in. I've been using it.
Oh, there you go.
The latest Trainz Plus.
There's probably not a lot of information out there because we're still testing it, but the code is in the latest Trainz Plus. So content creators who have Trainz Plus can actually start playing around with it now. And as you can imagine, you know, spreading all sorts of clutter around your environment, it's going to look awesome. So yeah, that's my little feature drop in the live stream. We got probably like a half an hour left, so keep those questions coming, and then we might wrap things up.
One question that has been asked is, will that work with 5 and 10 meter grids as well?
I don't know. I think it should.
Yeah, actually, it does.
I'm not gonna try it in stream because I know what happens if I do that. I'll find out. I'll find out.
More like.
I don't know. Maybe ask the guys that are on the other chat. So maybe ask the dev team, one of the guys who wrote it. They'll get back to us.
Give me 2 seconds. I'm loading up a route that's got a mix at the moment because it's in development.
Okay.
I'll have a look.
You can find out. What's next, Joe?
There's the edge.
Let's see. I got 2 content-related questions that I'm not really sure we'll be able to answer, but they're interesting questions.
Okay.
I can confirm it does work on 5-10 meter grid.
Does it shear?
Yep. I didn't test that, but
that's all right.
At least it
works.
You've got the clutter effect layer, and it's still waving in the breeze. So.
Yeah, it's obviously going to. If it does shear, it's going to shear better to HD terrain because the points are like 0.125 apart at the best. Whereas 5 meters, you're going to have to join it from there to there, so you might get these big transitions. But yeah, okay. Sorry, what were you saying, Joe?
So we got 2 content-related questions from Mr. Railyard. One is there a possibility in the future to make a 2.0 version of the Toronto Raillands? And then the second question is, when will the Bud RDC railcars be released to people outside of Trainz Plus?
How do the first one I can't answer. I don't even know. Is that we have so much DLC? Is that a DLC item?
That was
Toronto Raillands.
Terrace 2006 route from memory.
Yeah, it was Trainz 2006.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
an old one. That was a fun one. I remember playing on that one.
Yeah, right. I mean, that could be a cool NPS route that we could load up and get everyone involved in updating.
That could be interesting.
I believe that was actually made by a group associated with the museum in Toronto.
That does ring a bell.
From
Yeah.
what I
Right.
remember.
Okay.
I was all of about 15 at the time, so it's a long time ago.
Oh, it is a long time ago, isn't it? Look, let's leave that one. I'm sure we can take it and put it up on NPS and just have some fun with it. It might be nice to stream that one as well. As for the Bud, it will eventually come. When will it be released? I think it was released a while back, so it can't be too far away from getting out as a DLC for people. It may even make it into a future standalone product. I'm not sure, but it probably won't be this side of Christmas. I know there is some new. I think we're trying to get some new DLC out this side of Christmas. I haven't been able to get in contact with the guys making that in the team, so hopefully I'll get some more info on that for you shortly. But yeah, there'll be some new stuff coming, but the Bud I don't think will be released anytime soon to the standalone product.
If all goes well, hopefully the next TMR2 route will be out very, very soon.
Yep, and that I'll release some new info on that soon online, so look out for the new Trainz Model Railroad version coming soon. How are we looking for questions? Are we still chock full, or are we slowing right down?
We've got one here that just came in recently from NT3616 via Discord. Can you kindly make a tutorial on how to export a completed loco with bogies and all so that it can be used in the game using 3ds Max? So I guess a content creation question.
Oh yeah. I believe there is... I think there's 2 videos. One is 3ds Max and one is Blender online. There must be. I've seen some. I know you've done a 3D Max one, haven't you, Zach?
Yeah, I can't remember if I've done one for exporting from 3ds Max specifically, but
right.
A loco or a building are much the same. It's the configuration of attachment points and that which...
That's the hard part.
It's also hard to show in a tutorial because it really depends a lot on the locomotive itself.
Yeah, okay. I mean, but the underlining functionality of it is the same. Like where you add the attachment points isn't the point. It's basically the same idea on how you go about these things. Yeah. So watching that video should be fine.
It's something we could look at.
Maybe we can just round those links up and post them. I think even on contentcreation.trainsimulator.com, I think there might be some videos on there. Otherwise, Google will show you. There's heaps of videos on how to create your trains in both 3D Max and Blender. So yeah, if you're struggling to find that sort of stuff, just get in contact with us and we can send you the links. Anything else?
Let's see. I'm having a look.
There's what would be the difference between the current sound systems and the work in progress X Audio 2? Well, I can't actually. I don't know the technical side of that, to be honest. I know that surround sound, like left and right speakers and whatnot. I think X Audio does that a lot better. Again, I don't know the technical aspects of that, so I'll have to ask the team and get back to you on that one.
JB Vector asked earlier, what about dynamic AI like automatic route creation that automatically adds grass and trees near water, rocks near steep cliffs, snow textures on high mountains?
Yeah.
All based on climate and biomes. I don't know about the possibilities of that in the future going all the way down there, but it is worth noting that effect layers can be assigned based on a ground texture mask, so you can actually allocate specific textures to just automatically have those effect layers on them. which is really good for grasses or tree bark under trees. We use a drier texture under the trees, things like that. Snow textures on mountains is something that I think we were looking at hopefully being able to actually bring in with HD terrain based on the snow level tag. So that's actually part of the seasonal system, but I'm not sure if it's working yet.
What was that one, Zach? I'll try and answer that one.
Using the snow level to make snow visible on ground textures. I know it didn't work on legacy terrain unless you set it to 0 meters, but I'm not sure if we've actually got that working on HD terrain.
No, the snow level should work if you set it in the config. Is that what you're talking about?
No, as in on a route. So if you load a route up, can you adjust the snow level on the terrain?
Oh, right. As in like the density of it, or are you talking about the level?
No, like
the height,
where the snow appears, the altitude for the snow to appear on a route.
Oh, right.
It
No,
works for
no.
that, but I'm not,
I don't.
I wasn't sure if we had that working on HD terrain yet.
No, I'm not sure. If I understand you correctly, adjusting the value in the settings should work in HD terrain. Anyway, I'm not going to try it now. I'm pretty sure. It does work. Going back to your texture, I've put down some grass. You can edit, say, the ground texture mask, and I might just pick. I don't even know what I'm going to pick here. Gosh, I've got so many textures. Let's choose this one. And as Zach was saying, wherever I paint this, will now only put that clutter with that texture. So that's the mask it's got. Okay, so it's obviously not showing up over here because I haven't actually painted any of the clutter over there, but as I do start to paint, it will only stick to that particular texture itself. The reason why you can see it coming out the sides is because of the meterage I've given it here. So 10 meters. So it's basically broken up into grids, and the more precision you go with, the more data your route uses, but the more accuracy you're going to get. It will stay along that texture a lot closely. So yeah, that's what you can do with your masks. Thought I'd just showcase that. What else have we got?
A couple of people have mentioned TurfFX on Mac. Unfortunately, it's not compatible with Mac, so you won't see TurfFX on Mac versions of Trainz.
The reason why we've gone with Clutter 2.0 is it is a replacement for TurfFX. We are going to be phasing TurfFX out so that Mac and other platforms do end up getting animated grass. So yeah, it'll be clutter only moving forward, because we will eventually drop TurfFX. There will be a replacement asset or some kind of substitute for your existing routes that do use TurfFX. Whether it'll be an exact one-to-one, I can't tell you, but you won't lose that functionality or you won't lose those visuals, but we will be transitioning away from TurfFX, and it will be clutter only so that it works on all platforms and it's cross-platform. Are we slowing down? Gosh, I hope so.
I think we're slowing down a little bit, yeah.
That works. Okay. Look, I don't know exactly if we have beginners or long-time users watching. We've probably got a mixture of both. I did have a few things I wanted to go through, like explain what you get with Trainz 22, how to find that content, but they're all kind of beginner topics. I think I will touch on that sort of stuff because we've got plenty of opportunities to do some other live streams where we will have more intermediate or power user functionality, and people can get a grasp on the product to begin with, and then later on understand, if they want to understand more things, they can jump onto those streams and check out some of the more advanced topics. So guys, as the questions come in, just interrupt me and we'll continue doing the questions if there are any. Yep. Go for it. No,
I
that's
just
fine.
want to answer High Water MR from Discord. So we're dropping Turf FX because it can't work on certain platforms, but instead, yeah, the clutter effects are being designed to replace them, as Paul said.
Yeah. They should be superior. There's no reason to keep Turf effects. It's an NVIDIA thing. It's their plugin. We would have to maintain it if we wanted to keep it, and it makes no sense to maintain two separate systems when our clutter system has the capabilities to easily replace it.
The one thing that I will note is it should actually give creators a little bit more flexibility with it to create more specific grass assets rather than it being just the NVIDIA Turf FX grass blades. So converting a route from Turf FX to clutter shouldn't be terribly difficult. If you want to, it's technically already there. You can already create your clutter effect layers in preparation and just change the assets over to whatever catches your eye at any time. That's all flexible through the clutter menu anyway.
Yeah. Look, we're not gonna leave you hanging. If it's when it gets replaced, there's going to be seamless or easy ways to make sure that your routes come across. So don't stress.
He also had another question in there. When will TCCP support session packs?
Yeah, it's something that we want. It's not something we're actively working on, but the technology's moving towards dependent package or being supportive of dependency packages. So for instance, if someone wants to buy your session pack, they must own the route pack to begin with. It technically does do it. It just needs some automation to make sure that it's not a whole manual process to set up, and it's not a headache for people on receiving that at the other end, like the users. They don't want to jump through hoops to make sure that they have the content installed, or they purchase a session pack and realize now they have to spend more money to buy a route pack. So yeah, it's fairly close to getting there. But we're not actively working on it. When we get back to it, it shouldn't be too much of a push to get there. And I know that that'll offer a lot more gameplay for our users for the DLC routes that they have access to. And again, when Trainz Living Railroad comes, it'll only be custom sessions at that point, because Trainz Living Railroad will be a dynamic session which allows you to jump into any role that is being configured within the route and take charge of that role, and then jump out and move on to another one. And so it's this really nice dynamic session that each route gets, pending the route's configured correctly. But I believe we're still obviously keeping that customization for really custom sessions with the session rules, and being able to either toggle on Trainz Living Railroad or leave it and keep a custom session. Alright, we'll go for another 10 minutes, I think, and then we'll probably wrap it up.
I'll have a chat with Paul on that idea later. Hiawatha MR, that's a little bit more in depth than I think we can cover in this stream, but that's actually probably an idea worth having a look at. Thanks.
Alright, you can update me on what that's about.
Yep.
Anything else from anyone that we've missed in the chat? Anything new coming in? I know Joe's probably going to have a nap soon on his side of the world. He must be getting kind of late.
It's 8 o'clock here, yeah.
Ah, geez, I'd be in bed by now, Joe.
It's all good. I don't see it. I don't have any more questions on my list that I grabbed. I've been copying them down.
Okay, all right. I'll give you got 2 minutes to get your questions in. Otherwise, we might wrap this particular live stream up. It's been mostly filled with questions, which is great. I do want to get a lot more information out there for users of the product, whether you're new, whether you've been with us for a long time, whether you've had a previous product and you want to come and experience the newer products, what you can expect. And then I would love to dive into some of those features, whether they're obvious ones and you just haven't touched on those kind of beginner features yet, or whether they're power user features, and that's building routes, driving, session creation, navigation, all sorts of things, asset creation, multiplayer surveyor, which I think we should change the name on that one so people understand that it's also driving, not just world building. So yeah, hopefully these live streams continue to go well and we get rid of the technical aspects and problems that we started off with, but we got there in the end. That's the main thing. So yeah.
We got a question here that popped up a couple minutes ago. Any upgrades planned for the DLS? I'm assuming they're asking about Content Manager, like filtering for number of downloads or somehow seeing the quality other than the thumbnail and upload date. So more filters in Content Manager for the DLS.
We did talk about a rating system. It's not actively being worked on. I think there's just a design in place where we would have users rate the content, which would allow them to filter on what content is more popular than others. And then we would also probably do some kind of processing on our end that would do a performance rating. So we would look at things like how many textures it has, the poly counts, whether it has LOD, those sorts of things. So we could give you guys more information at a glance on what you can expect with that asset. You can find out all those things on your own, don't get me wrong. All the tools in Content Manager and Trainz allow you to check the performance and how good an asset is before you use it. But again, I will go into probably a specific performance, asset performance and route performance live stream so that people can get an idea on that sort of thing. But yeah, if we do go down that path, hopefully we can get something automated and you can at a glance just say, oh, that's a 5 out of 5 asset, I can use it, or everyone's marking it as 1 out of 5, so you should leave that one alone until the creator fixes it, whatever the issues are.
Cool, I like that. Jack had a comment, this isn't a question, which I thought was interesting. He says, guys, I love good routes. In future episodes, could you each talk about a route you like?
Yeah, I mean, I had planned on like streaming a few DLC routes that I really like, but it's this particular stream at the Q&A, it's hot, so I don't want to discourage that, and we will get to other streams where we can, I guess, maybe stop the chat and we'll just kind of chat about some of the things that we would talk maybe internally about routes and showcase some of those and whatnot. But yeah, we'll get, Joe, you can work out some polls that we work out internally first and get them out to people, and you guys vote on what you want to see, and then we can probably go from there.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Is it finished? Is there no more questions that you can see?
I don't see anything else that stands out that we haven't already answered.
Okay.
Unless you want to start answering questions a second time.
No, I'm good. I'm good. We'll leave it there. All right. Well, thank you everyone for showing up for the first live stream that went out to all our socials. We'll probably be eventually, I think, on TikTok and Instagram. I think we're just waiting for them to enable some things. But yeah, I guess comment in whatever social channel you're on. Tell us what you think about the live streams. If you're happy with them, can we do something better? We'd love to hear from you, and so we can improve this stuff. Like I said, we'll get some polls out there. We'll find out what you're interested in hearing about, because there's so many areas with Trainz that we could touch on. And yeah, we'll try and find out the most voted areas and construct some live streams around that. So I just want to thank Zach and Joe for joining me on the live stream today. Thank all the viewers, and we'll be back every first Wednesday of the month with this particular Q&A stream on all the social channels, and then we may add a few more streams in around that based on MPS route building, you name it, whatever you're interested in. But
that's Tuesday for you guys that are also in the US.
Yeah. Sorry, Wednesday's Australian Standard Eastern Standard Time. But check on Facebook and YouTube, and it should tell you when we're about to go live. And also the Discord guys will be around on that as well. So anyway, that's it. We'll call it quits for the day. Thanks for watching, and we will see you all soon.
Thanks, guys.
See you later. That was fun.